What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle. And real quick housekeeping note, if you are watching us on YouTube or if you're watching us on Rumble or BitChute and Odyssey, please hit that follow and subscribe button. Also, if you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, all that good stuff, please hit that follow and subscribe button. Help us bring our numbers up so we can continue to bring you conversations like the one we're about to have today, talking with my good friend, Mr. Matt Mingus of the band Dance Gavin Dance. What's going on, Matt?
Nothing much, man. Happy to be here. We've been talking about doing this for probably over a year now, so it's nice to finally make it happen and get on here with you.
Yeah, exactly. We see each other often, kind of like this, but we don't. We've been meaning to talk more about music and your background and stuff like that. So glad we're able to do it. You've been pretty busy though, so just kind of got
Yeah.
back into the States again, which I want to get into and everything with you. But real quick, when I have somebody on for the first time, I like to get a quick background. So do you remember originally what you wanted to be when you grew up?
Ooh. Well, there's this ongoing joke in my family. In preschool, we had to, like, when we graduated, everyone had to hold up signs, of what they want to be when they grow up. And I shit you not, I got up there and I held up my sign and I told everyone that I want to work the streets. But what I meant was I wanted to be a construction worker. But the way it came out, the 4-year-old me, I said, I want to work the streets. So my parents always, still to this day, talk about that. So, and then beyond that, as far as I can remember, like my actual own memories, I wanted to be a musician. I started playing at a really young age when I was 9. And from then on, that's just like what I dreamed of doing, was playing music.
Nice. And do you remember like what it was that kind of like first like attracted you to music? Like how'd you discover it?
Um, well, my parents, that they I always thought they had good musical taste growing up. And they like going to concerts and stuff. And then I had my older sister, um, who is, at the time when she's about 15 years older than me. I'd have to do the math, but somewhere around there. So when I was really young, she was in high school and she was all into that, like the grunge scene, and she turned me on to Nirvana, and Bush. Those were some of her favorite bands. And then my brother-in-law, who she started dating when she was in high school, he played guitar, and he's the one who really turned me on to like the Deftones and Far and like heavier music. I grew up here in Sacramento, so hence the influence from the Deftones and Far. That was all big in the scene over here. And
then what
and he
kind of
put
like what that attracted you to drums?
I wanted to be in the school band. And I remember one morning I was walking by the multi-purpose room, and this was in like 2nd grade, so you couldn't be in band until you were in 3rd grade.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and I remember walking by the multi-purpose room and heard the band playing the Mission Impossible theme song. And I was like, damn, that's
Nice.
cool. I want to do that. And so I waited. And then when it was finally time for me to join, I, had to decide what instrument I was going to play. And it was either between, I think I wanted to play either saxophone or drums and percussion. And I mean, when you're a young kid, a little delinquent like I was, drums seemed much more fun. So I went with that. And then and then I picked up guitar, and I got super into guitar. And I always played drums and percussion in school band, but outside of that, I played guitar, and I always envisioned myself playing guitar in a band, in like a rock band. So it's kind of funny how it worked out, and I ended up just playing drums. But
Yeah, I mean, so this was like third grade or something. I think when I was in kindergarten, they only let us touch like the recorder or something, that was enough
oh
noise.
yeah,
That's
good
great.
old
You guys had it so young.
yeah, I remember learning hot cross buns on the recorder.
Yeah, exactly. But like drums and anything else, I don't think they let us. We started getting into until like junior high or whatever. But that's wild. That's a good. Well, would you say Sacramento is more like about the arts and music as well? That
Um,
area?
yeah, there's definitely a lot of it. I grew up, in the suburbs of Sacramento, a little south of it, in the city of Elk Grove, which was back then still somewhat of a cow town, um, and a little more rural. Now it's not. It is like one of the fastest growing cities, and it's super suburban now. But uh, yeah, I'd say there's all the schools had a lot of really excellent programs, depending on what you wanted to do, and music was one of them. And especially like you mentioned, in junior high, that's when like my band program experience like really took off, and being more involved in the different bands like concert band and jazz band, and competing. Our schools would compete in competitions and all sorts of stuff like that. That carried on to high school for me too.
And then, I mean, you mentioned some of the bands that, like Deftones and stuff, from the area, but when you started playing out, what was the scene like over there?
We've always had a really good local music scene here since I was a kid. So there used to be this coffee shop down the street from my house, my parents' house. It was called the Sweet Bean Cafe, and all the local bands would play there. And uh, my first local band show was this band called 3 Weeks Yesterday, and they're like pop punk. And I thought that shit was tight. And so then I went through a little phase of like really being into pop punk and the local pop punk scene. And um, that was like definitely a thing here.
Nice.
But
Eh,
but I wasn't too picky though. Those were the times where I would just show up knowing that a band was going to play and not even know who I was going to be seeing, and just go in and watch the show, and sometimes like it and sometimes not.
That's awesome. And then, like, so in high school, when did you start like forming your own bands to start playing out?
Um, the first band that I formed was in 8th grade, um, and we were called Votality. And I started playing with this group of guys, and we were a band for like 2 years maybe, and we'd play at all the local spots, and that's when I like really got into it and fell in love with it, and realized that it was possible. My dream was could become a reality, if I work hard enough and keep at it.
And then when did Dance Gavin Dance form?
That was in 2005. I was 16 at the
Wow.
time, so I think I was a sophomore in high school. Maybe I was a junior. Actually, yeah, I was a junior in high school, and yeah, that uh that was kind of funny, the early stages of the band, because we'd like jam and practice, and just play for like our girlfriends at our practice studio and stuff.
So you guys all kind of have known each other from high school, or you guys all in the same?
No, actually, more so from just like the local music scene. So our guitar player Will Swan, him and I met because um, we crossed paths before, but we really met because our two separate bands after I was in that band called Votality, I started another band called Left Apart. And we shared a practice studio with Will's old band called Farewell Unknown. And they were like kind of like a pop punk band. They had like a little bit of screaming, but it was more so pop punk. And so we shared a room together, and then they were having some issues with their drummer. And next thing I know, I was joining that band with Will. And then that only lasted a few months, and then we decided to just totally change it up and go pick up our new singer at the time, who was Johnny Craig. And Will knew Johnny because their bands had toured together. Because that's one of the reasons I joined Farewell Unknown, was because they had already like been on tour, and they were playing some of the more well-known venues in Sacramento at the time, like the Boardwalk. And so I wanted to, it was looking back, and yeah. And it, it was somewhat selfish, but I just so badly wanted to be a successful musician that I was kind of willing to do anything. So, I left the band that I was in to join with Will, and next thing you know, I guess I sold my soul to the devil for rock and roll.
But like, obviously then you and Will have hit it off and bonded. And then when did the Dance Gavin Dance become, your thing?
So yeah, that was in 2005, and we started writing music immediately, and recorded an EP, and then next thing we know, we were getting hit up by a well-known manager in the area, and we started working with him, and then we got signed to Rise Records 2 years after we had formed in 2007.
Yeah, and like what I meant to ask too is like, so it's like you and Will kind of knew each other from the scene, from crossover for other bands, but then how did the other members start coming in to the fold? How'd you meet them?
It's kind of funny. So let's see, our bass player at the time, Eric Lodge, he was in the band with Will. He was in Farewell Unknown. And then John Mess, our screamer, he I knew him completely separate. I got into recovery at a really young age. And I'm sure we'll get more into this later, but I got turned on. I went into rehab when I was like 15, and I that's actually when I met John Mess, was through recovery. And I knew him separately, and the next thing I know, he was friends with Will. It was just so, like, looking back on it, it's so weird how everything worked out, and then next thing you know, we're in a band together, and it was kind of crazy. So, and then and then we always had other guitar players, second guitar players coming and going, and so it took a while to get one locked in for those first few years.
Now, when you guys first started, were you just with one vocalist and then went on to use two, or?
No, we immediately started with John and Johnny Craig.
Okay. And then so you said you guys got discovered with went on Rise Records at the beginning, and that was that still before you finished high school this all happened?
Yeah, I was still in high school, and when I signed my first record contract, because I wasn't 18 yet, my dad had to sign it, and
and he actually read it and was like, "What are you doing?"
No, what's funny is, it's probably incriminating of me to say this, but I forged his signature on the contract, and he knew. I asked him if I could, and he's like, "Yeah, do it." My parents, I'm lucky. My parents have always been super supportive of me doing the music thing. So he forged it, and Rise, they fucking knew too. And actually Craig, who doesn't own Rise anymore, but you know, we still keep in touch. He still has that contract that I forged when I was
Nice.
so young. And so yeah, so we
It's
went
got
to
to end up in the
record
Rock
our
Hall someday.
hell yeah. And so on our first tour that we ever went on, I was still in high school, and I brought a packet of work that I was supposed to complete while I was on the road, and I totally didn't. Of course, I was on tour,
Yeah.
so yeah, I just immediately jumped into this shit like at a really young age.
But then, you know, you come back from your first tour and that experience, and probably big man at the high school, you know. But how were your teachers with, you know, finishing after taking that
They,
packet out?
they were cool, man. You know, I ended up my junior year of high school. I was one of those kids. I was kind of just done with school at a young age. You know, I wasn't dumb. I wasn't bad. I just was like, all right, I'm ready to be in the world. So I ended up going to continuation high school, it's called, and or an
So you could
alternative
finish early
education.
or whatever.
Yeah. And then it was only 3 hours a day. And I ended up graduating 6 months early still, even though I went on tour. And my teachers were hella supportive of me doing music, and everyone was cool with me going on tour, and they made it work and worked with me as much as they could, you know. And I'm super grateful for that.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, a lot of, I mean, it's cool that your parents were so supportive too, because a lot of, you know, I've heard so many stories of, you know, parents just like, no, you, you know, get a college education first, you know, or something, have a backup plan. Um, and you kind of just, you know, went with it. And I mean, here we are, 2023. You guys have accomplished so much during your time. But let's talk about like kind of like, you know, the ups and the downs since like finishing high school and then going out in a touring band where you know, I think we had talked one time when you were in town, you know, about the van days, you know, and
Oh yeah.
you know, uh let's talk a little bit about the van days, and then were there ever any times where you're just like, man, did I make the right choice? Or
Oh yeah. Yeah, so we were in the van for a long time. Really for the first 10 years of our career. And like the first tour, we didn't even have a trailer. We were just in a 15 passenger van, 7 of us in there with the gear crammed. And it was gnarly, man. None of us really had any money, and we were eating off the dollar menu on a daily basis and sleeping on people's floors or sleeping in the van. And at that time, I had started drinking and partying again, and so when we go on tour, we would just party, and just get fucked up all the time. And that was, unfortunately, it got the best of me later on in my career. But in the early years, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, shit, it was fun. Like we had a great time. We didn't know any better.
yeah,
I but it when we were doing that for so long, it did start to take a toll on me. And like you said, there were those moments where it's like, fuck, like, am I really gonna do this like for the rest of my life? Like,
yeah,
we just didn't really see the light at the end of the tunnel. But it's like, well, I'm doing what I fucking love to do. Like, there's no question about that. But I'm not really making a living doing it. And there are other guys that did leave the band because of that. And, I always kind of had the upper hand in that situation because I was the youngest. I was like 3 years younger than everyone. So all these guys that are worrying about making these livings and doing all this, I'm like, oh shit, I'm still 19
yeah,
years old. Like, whatever.
yeah.
And, so, but yeah, there were hard times, and, it was definitely challenging to make ends meet, but I just wanted it so bad, and I think so did, and I know so did our guitar player Will and I, and we just kept hammering it out until, you know, we went through several member changes, multiple singers, and then finally we started to get that respect. You know, I guess you can call it that, respect in the music scene, and people started to notice us and want to tour with us. But in the early years, like, it was really hard to find bands to take us out on tour, and we ended up just headlining all the time and having to kind of build our own fan base up, and you know, it paid off over the years. And now I'd say we have some. I like to think we have some of the most loyal fans, you know, in the music scene, really, compared to a lot of bands. Like, uh, they, I feel loved by them, and it's just, it's cool to look back and talk about these things and then see kind of where we're at now, and it just makes me have a lot of gratitude, you know, towards everything.
Yeah, I remember, you know, when you guys played here at the Agora, and I got to experience you for the first time. You know, experience you guys playing live for the first time, and just the fans singing along. And you know, I mean, the Agora was, I think, sold out. It was packed. You know, and they're just, I could sense the love and out there with the crowd. I could feel that energy with you guys, man, and it was quite amazing. But you know, when was it like? So, I mean, it's been like you and Will since day one. You guys have had a little, you know, revolving door members for a little bit. But when was it when you got this current uh, connection? And do you feel, you know, when was the point in your guys' career where you started, like you said, that noticing that respect and getting to play like bigger shows and getting the bigger following?
Yeah, so we ended up parting ways, for the second time with Johnny Craig. I believe it was, I'm so bad with dates. I want to say it was 2013. And we had toured with this band called Tides of Man, and we reached out to their. They weren't really doing anything anymore, so we reached out to their singer Tillian Pearson and hit him up. And well, I should mention, actually, when we kicked out Johnny Craig for the second time, we were kind of on the verge of just throwing the hat in and being like, you know, like, we just can't make this work. Like, this isn't destined to happen, you know. And but we were like, all right, one last hurrah. Let's see if this guy wants to be our singer, and take it from there. And we reached out, and he was interested, and he sent us over a demo of him singing over Lemon Meringue Tie. And we were like, oh, this is sick. All right, great. And I mean, the rest is history. He joined, and I'd say we wrote a record with him called Acceptance Speech. And after that album came out is when I'd say the tide started to turn, and people showed interest in our band again. But there, I think, was always a lot of people in the music industry and music fans that were like, oh, these guys, they changed their lineup so often, like, this isn't gonna last, you know, and just kind of were almost rooting for us to fail. But you know, we've been with the same lineup now for 10 years, minus, you know, a couple changes in guitar players, and obviously our bass player passing away. And but other than that, it's been the same core members of me, Will, John Mess, and Tillian Pearson. And I feel like, you know, everybody brings something to the table, and when we write music together, there's some magic happens, you know. And
Yeah, I agree, man. When I saw that show, and you know, like Tillian definitely is like, you know, I mean, I remember, you leave seeing for the first time, he's definitely somebody that, like, you know, you're like, man, what's this guy's vocals doing in the middle of all this chaos, you know,
yeah,
when he does the singing, you know. And it's just like, and just but it goes so well. He was such a part that I remember from that show and from that experience, you know. So definitely sounds like you found the right, you know, the right mix in there.
Absolutely. And you know, I don't want to get too much into this, but it was you know, it was really challenging doing that tour at the end of last year without him while he was taking care of himself, and it was one of those reminders of how important he truly is to Dance Gavin Dance, and you know, it's just not the same without him. So it's really nice having him back and
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
back.
for sure. And you know, so you guys everything starts going well when you get this mix. You said the past 10 years, everybody's kind of been gelling, putting out albums, getting on bigger shows, starting to maybe play some festivals and being noticed out there. Um, and then, you know, it got like you've already alluded to how, you know, what it ended up, you know, how it ended up affecting you. You want to talk about like kind of the highs and then that crash?
Yeah, I mean, I was just like I said, you know, I got in and I just party, and it was really fun at the beginning, and then it just progressively kept getting worse and worse, as you know it does for a lot of I mean, for all drug addicts and alcoholics, and you know, the partying turned into not being fun anymore, and a lot of guys in the band grew were older now, so they grew out of that and weren't partaking anymore. And then here I am still just, you know, acting like I'm this 21-year-old kid, and now I'm in my 30s, and it just wasn't cute anymore. And I used to go on tour and party and then come home and be able to turn it off, and then come home and just be, you know, kind of normal. And that just, it just went away. It burnt out. So I'd go on tour and then I'd come home and then I'd act like I was still on tour and partying and getting blackout drunk all the time. And, you know, then I got introduced. I'm super open about this stuff. So, you know, I don't mind sharing. Then I just got really heavily into doing cocaine. And, and it got so bad that it was no longer a social thing. You know, I was doing it by myself at home, and staying up for multiple days at a time and just losing my fucking mind. And what happened was the pandemic hit, and so our tour got canceled. Um, there was seeming to be no hope for live music to come back for a while, and I just fell into this really dark place for that 2 years that everything was shut down. And in my mind, I was like, I knew it had gotten really bad, and I wanted help, and but I didn't know how to get out of it. So I, you know, just kind of circled around the drain for a bit. And, so then we got a tour booked, and it was the Afterburner tour, and I saw the light at the end of the tunnel, and I thought that going on that tour was going to help pull me out of this dark place I had been in and give me that sense of purpose again that I felt like was missing from my life. And it really had the opposite effect. And I went on the tour, and now I didn't have my wife, I didn't have any responsibilities. I'm on tour again, and I just went batshit crazy and was just partying. And now my band was starting to get concerned. And they told me, you know, I need to chill out, and pulled me aside and had some, you know, talks with me. And I was in denial and like, what? Fuck that! I can do whatever I want. And mind you, you know, I was always pretty good about staying sober to perform and then getting fucked up afterwards. And on this tour, that wasn't the case anymore. I was so deep in my disease of addiction that I couldn't even stay sober to perform. I was getting fucked up before the set. I wasn't playing good. And then finally, halfway through the tour, we were playing in Detroit at the Masonic Temple there, and I was coming off of like a 2 or 3 day bender, and I went to go do the meet and greet, and my bandmates were like, dude, no, you're not doing the meet and greet. You need to go get some sleep. Like, you're fucking up, basically, is what they said in some kinder words.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, something just clicked, and I was like, oh, fuck that. I could do whatever I want, fucked up. And don't you know who I am? This stupid fucking God complex that I somehow developed over time. Even though deep down inside I felt like such a piece of shit, I still tried to project that, you know, my ego was just out of control. And so I proceeded to get super fucked up on multiple different types of drugs and alcohol. And I went out to go play, and I couldn't physically play my drums. Like, I physically could not play. And they basically booted me off stage, and thank God my drum tech, was a phenomenal drummer, hopped up and finished the set for me. But I went into the back in the green room, and I broke down. I lost it. I basically had a nervous breakdown, and I was crying. I was breaking shit. And I finally had that moment that was like, I don't want to die, and I'm going to die. I feel like I'm going to die. I feel like I want to die, but I don't want to, and I need help. And I don't know how to do this alone. So because I had mentioned, you know, I went through rehab and was into recovery at an early age, I knew that there was hope. And so I made a phone call to our manager and to my wife, and I just told them what had happened, that I need help. And my manager reached out to an amazing, literal life-saving organization called Music Cares. And they were able to find me a bed in an inpatient rehab that next day. So that night, I basically tried to talk and come up with excuses of why not to go, and then finally it was like, no, I got to do this. Like, I have to. And thank God that my band members saw that I needed it, and they were worried, and they all love and care about me, and they allowed me to go take care of myself for the longevity of the band, and didn't, you know, kick me out. Or I remember that's what I was so worried about that. I was like, oh, you guys don't kick me out. And I was crying and apologizing. And they're like, no, don't, like, just go get help. And so I did. And then, you know, the rest is history. And I've been sober ever since. It's been just over 18 months for me.
Yeah.
And it's been incredible. And I got really lucky in getting to get linked up with all these other sober musicians and people that work in the music industry, and just being able to be shown that it is possible to be in this world of rock and roll and be sober and still have a fun time and love yourself and actually have self-respect that I had lost for so long, and just really get shown this new way of life that's truly amazing. And I mean, look, it's brought you and I together, and it's just super cool.
I've been very open, you know, on my podcast about being in recovery. Usually in a lot of my interviews, you know, because I'm so transparent about it and what it's the journey and what it's done for me. It's like, you know, a lot of strangers I have on here feel comfortable, and then they open up to me about their stories. And, you know, because of that, you know, led me to some of the same groups that I was able to meet you, you know, and it's just amazing, this brotherhood of, you know, it's amazing. Like, you know, because I used to be the concert promoter. I never had, like, you know, any musical talent, you know, to play, but I liked being a part of that whole sex, drugs, rock and roll, you know, that whole scene.
Yeah.
So let me be a part of it somehow. And this past couple years, since I mean, I've been sober for a little while, not working the best program that I should be working, admittedly, but but just surrounding myself with good people, and like you said, the our group, it's been some of the best times I've had now, where I can wake up every morning now and remember, you know, the
Yes.
sets, and the bands that I heard and the conversations I had. And, it's been awesome, man. And I'm grateful that it was something that brought us together. So I got to experience, you guys when you came through town, and hang out with you and go get sushi and all that good stuff, and go to, visit Dr. Bob's, and, you know,
Yeah,
all that cool stuff. But
dude. And
yeah, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, and I like being transparent and open about my recovery journey, and in hopes that if someone out there is having a hard time, and just one person hears this, and it can give them hope that they can get help, and turn their life around, and get back on the right path. That's what this thing's all about. Is helping
Yeah,
others.
exactly.
Um,
That's how I feel. Like, that's why, when I'm having these conversations, I'm, especially if it's somebody I just met, I'm just like, well, this is me and this is where I'm at. And if they feel comfortable and they open up, and then it's just like we're having this entirely like authentic conversation, with transparency, that whoever the audience is that's out there listening, their fans get to hear something more like authentic and real than, oh, how, when's the next tour? How's the album coming along? The basic
Absolutely,
stuff
yeah.
you got to hit on usually. Um,
Absolutely. Sorry, the last thing I'll say about that though, real quick, is, and it was kind of weird, like the first tour I did sober. That it was different, and but now I love it. Touring sober is fucking so much better. Like, I feel good every day. I feel like I play good every day. And I remember everything when I come home, like all the people I met along the way, and it's like getting to do this stuff again for the first time, and it's fucking awesome.
yeah, dude. And I think I texted you a couple times during one of the tours, because, I follow your social media, and there's some pictures of you playing, and just that smile. And I'm just like, I think I was just like, dude, sobriety looks awesome on you, you know?
Dude,
And it's just,
thanks, man.
it's great to have this, this fellowship and this new way of life. And how much would you say, I mean, you said the first tour was kind of like, wow, and then you realize how awesome it was, but like, how much has your life changed for the better, not just musically, but, personally? So it's getting
Oh,
sober.
dude, I mean, everything's gotten better. I've developed, better relationships with, my bandmates, obviously, and with the people I'm close with at home, my wife and my family, and I've made all sorts of fucking badass friends through recovery that I consider my friends. Like, I've only known these guys for whatever the last 18 months, and I know them better than people I've known for 20 years. And
Yeah.
it's just, I don't know, it just feels good to truly be alive and living, and actually living my life. And not every day's perfect. Life's life, and
Like,
I've,
yeah.
I've been through shit, since I've been sober, losing our bass player Tim, and
Yeah. I wanted
so
to,
there've been ups and downs.
yeah, I wanted to touch on that, because it's like you have had, a new life, but now you've had to experience tragedy, probably for the first time, like actually having to feel it and go through it,
Yeah, yeah.
and what was that, experience like? And I mean, where do you think you would have been if you didn't have this program and having to go through that?
Oh man. Well, I wouldn't have been present, that's for sure. I would have just stuffed it down, and I wouldn't have reached out and be able to be there for other people, because I couldn't even be there for myself. And one thing I learned through this program is just to, now I'm sober, and you can't change. I'm powerless over what happened, and all I can do is be there for others, and by being there for other people, make you know, makes it so I feel better too. It's like that, you know, it just circles back around. And it was challenging. I was in disbelief when it first happened, and it, you know, it took about a day to actually truly process that we had just lost, you know, not only a band member but one of my best friends. And you know, it's still is challenging at times. I think it's just always going to be like that. You know,
Yeah.
I've lost close friends before, unfortunately, and you know, some days it's easy and some days it's hard, and it's one of those things. It's like every single night that I am up there playing live, I think about Tim. Every single night. There's just, but that's cool. Like that's the best fucking way that I could think of to remember someone, you know,
Yeah.
and they're not, you know, and they're good memories. Like we had good times together. And it's sad and it's fucked and it, you know, but it doesn't have to make sense. And you know, we miss him. I miss him dearly. I do like, you know, to tell people how he died, you know, from a fentanyl overdose. And just a reminder about how fucked up fentanyl is. And you just don't know these days what it's in. You know, if you're a recreational drug user or whatever, I mean, you just don't fucking know. And it's scary. And it's just sad that he has to be a example of that, you know. But
Yeah.
you know, I know one account of one person, a friend of mine, who got sober right after Tim died because Tim died. And so, you know, it's the harsh reality, but Tim's death at least maybe saved someone else, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, you know, having you know what we have now, and I've seen how, you know, how much you've grown and how much you help others. I know you know, you're always there if I need to reach out and talk to you. And but you know, you dealt with the loss of Tim and you stayed connected with some brothers. You're able to process and feel and grieve yourself as well now in a healthy manner. You guys have also dealt with some other challenges as a band, you know, since Tim. Um, how would you say this whole past like year? Because Tim, it was like a year ago, right? Just
Yeah,
yeah,
it's coming up on a year, yeah.
yeah. And this past year, with everything you guys have had to experience, how would you say it's helped you grow as an individual and help the band kind of strengthen
I
the band
mean,
relationship?
it's definitely strengthened us a lot. We've had like little things. I mean, we had the big things happen, you know, with our singer, and luckily, you know, that's all sorted. It's bullshit to begin with, anyways. But that's all I'm gonna say. And and we've had little things happen, you know, since then. And I've literally said, like, dude, like, our bass player died. This other thing happened. Like, we can literally go through anything. Like, nothing's ever gonna get as bad as it's been. So
Yeah,
so it really makes all the small quality problems seem like absolutely nothing, you know. But dude, like, I mean, we're brothers and we're all fucking committed to this thing. And the way I see it, I'm like, if we can go through all that and still be a band and still be pumping out music and going on tour, fuck, I mean, what's up? We could go through anything.
yeah, and I can't think of a better way to keep honoring, you know, your friend Tim's legacy by continuing, you know?
Absolutely. And you know, we had the Swan Fest right after he had died. It was like 2 weeks, 3 weeks after he died or something. And we were like, fuck, what do we do? Like, do we still go on tour? And it's like, and we reached out to his parents out of respect, you know, to see if what they thought, if they'd be okay. And they were like, of course, go on tour. I mean, he would have wanted you guys to. That's the last thing he would have wanted, is for us to just stop playing music and doing everything, you know. And that's the best way to honor him, exactly like you said, is play every single night. And I you know, we looked at, look at ZZ Top when Dusty Baker died, and they were on tour. They took like a night off and then kept going, and because the same thing, they were like, the show must go on. The show must go on, and it's fucking hard. It was very challenging, but we did it for him and for his family and for the fans. And Tim loved our fans, so
yeah. And then so Jackpot Juicer, when you guys, that your most recent album, when you guys was Tim was a part of that, right? That process?
Yeah.
Still?
Yeah,
that
was
so
the
you
last
guys,
audio work.
okay. And when was that being all put together too? Because because I know we talked about the downtime with COVID and everything, but how long has that been in the works? And
so during the downtime with COVID is when we wrote it, and then we went into the studio there like just before that Afterburner tour.
okay.
But yeah, we had so much time off, and one thing we love to do is write music. So we were like, well, we'll take advantage of not being able to go on tour and get together and write music. And we had so much time, and we just kept writing and writing that we ended up with 17 tracks. So originally, when we went into the studio, we were like, well, 17 songs, like that's too much. Like we'll record what we got, and then we'll make some cuts, And then when we heard all the 17 tracks together, we were like, fuck, we can't cut any of this. It has to be all together. That's what makes it the record. So we just rolled 17 songs. Because usually, historically, we will cut a couple songs from albums. Like there's definitely probably like 10 songs that no one outside of the band has ever heard. Maybe one day we'll put out a B-sides record, but
well, what I think is like amazing of what you just said too, if you didn't cut one song of those 17 songs you guys recorded together, and then that being the last time you guys got to do all that with Tim, it's like every piece that he contributed got to be shared with everybody too. That's pretty beautiful,
Absolutely. And we're going in 2 weeks from today to start writing a new record. And it's going to be weird. It's going to be weird without Tim, but I think we're all prepared for it. And, we just want to keep our momentum going that we've worked so hard to maintain over the years. And so,
what I'm seeing too with this, the cool thing is this is going to be your first one doing sober, right?
Yeah.
And then with, what the rest of the members of the band have kind of been through, I think, what kind of like focus and creativity is going to be poured out, and feelings, are going to be poured into this one. I'm excited for it.
Totally. A lot. I know it's kind of funny because that you mentioned that, because Jackpot Juicer, although when it was released, I was sober, and I have had people like seeing comments where they're like, oh, Matt, you sound great. You could really tell you were sober on this record. And it's like, dude, I was not sober when we wrote or recorded that. I was super fucked up. So thank you. But so I'm really excited to finally actually write and record a record sober and see where it takes me. I'm like a little nervous, because I actually feel feelings now. Yeah. But it's an excited nervous, to see what happens in the writing room and in the studio. So
yeah, I mean, like I said, because I did the math in my head with what you shared with me, and I remember that, then you were still obviously using during that, but how awesome this is going to be, where I think, with everything that you, like you said, everything that the band has been through, and not worrying about the minor things, coming together for this album, I'm pumped for you guys. I'm excited to hear what is going to come out of it's like, diamonds are formed under pressure, and you guys have been through some pressure the past year, so
yeah I feel like
I think nothing but good things are going to come now with this.
Yeah, I think every record we sort of have always felt like we have something to prove, and it's no different for this one. I mean, we got some shit to prove, but we can still do this, and but that's not why we do this. Like we write and make music because we genuinely love it. Every single one of us, we love playing music and have passion for it still, and it's that same passion that I had when I was 16 and starting the band. I still love it just as much, and like we're getting older, so sometimes it's like a week before tour, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta go on tour. Oh my but then it's like, wait a second, I dreamt of this my whole life, and I still get to do this, like
Yeah.
and then
It's like
and
I
then I
get
get
to go on
excited. So
tour. Yeah.
yeah.
And then well, speaking of getting to go on tour, and now since you've been, experiencing it sober, I mean, I know touring in the States is one thing, but then, touring overseas in Europe and the UK are like kind of what was that for the first time being sober now?
Dude, it was awesome. Yeah, we've been over to Europe. So we didn't go to Europe for like over 5 years, and then now we've already been twice this year. So it's really neat. We've never really caught on over there, and I feel like finally, 18 years later, things are starting to happen for us in Europe. But touring over there sober was awesome. We played in Germany and Amsterdam, and it was kind of cool because you know I used to go over there and I'd like never even see the sunlight. I'd like party all night and then sleep all day. And now this time we were waking up early. We were doing hella touristy stuff. Like we went to a lot of museums while we were there this time, and a
Yeah,
lot of
that's awesome.
a lot of really cool old cathedrals, and just being a tourist. And it was awesome. I loved it. And these are things that I'll actually remember, and I'll remember for the rest of my life versus sitting on a bar stool meeting some weird people somewhere.
Yeah, I've shared this story with I just recently with some of my friends and like regretting, when I was, on active duty and we pulled into port and I would make fun of the oh, you nerds, they're gonna go see the Vatican and stuff like that. I'm going to where the hookers and the alcohol is, but they tell us not to go and hang out. And it's like, all these years later, looking back, like, man, it would have been cool to have checked out the sites and actually did some touristy stuff that didn't involve me like numbing out and, you know, trying to hook up,
Totally. No,
so
it was really cool. And it was also really awesome on this last tour. We were opening, which we haven't gotten to do over there, and we were opening for Papa Roach and Don Broco. And Don Broco, they're fucking massive over there. They're huge. And
nice.
so we were playing stadiums, and it was a really, really cool experience. And we were all super grateful for that tour, and being able
Yeah,
to
I
be a
wanted
part
to
of it.
ask how that went because that was the one you just recently came back from, right?
Yeah, it was sick, man. So I always been a massive Papa Roach fan since I was a little kid. I played Between Angels and Insects on guitar at my 7th grade talent show.
Nice.
So like, and I've always wanted to play with them, and we never have. So it was so sick to finally get to play with them and watch them every night, and they were so fucking good. And then Don Broco was amazing too. I'll be the first to admit that sometimes I'm a little late to checking out bands, and we toured with Don Broco. We brought him out on tour here in the United States, but I was so far gone in my disease, I fucking didn't really take the time to, give him a listen. And I was thoroughly blown away. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on this podcast, but they're fucking good. And the shows were awesome, and their production was cool, and all their fucking fans were nuts, and it was just fucking cool to see. It was cool.
And that's part of what we can, feel and experience and be a part of now that we're present, and
Absolutely.
the clear ahead, dude. I mean, it's like I said, this past I remember like, I've shared this with my friends before too, when I used to, be really in my disease and I was like promoter or I was just going to shows all the time, here in the local scene. And bands I used to think were just, oh, I love these guys because they got me, fucked up, but
Yeah.
and there was a lot of bands that, are always like very cool and wanted to play shows for me. And I'd be like, all right, yeah. And they, hook me up or whatever, and then it's like, then I get sober and then I'm listening to some, I'm like, man, why was I work? Why did I like the, but then the other bands you get the experience that you maybe never gave the time of day to, but you're finally hearing their musicianship and feeling the energy and the music. It's just like, oh wow, who are these guys? Oh, they used
Yeah.
to, why didn't you check them out before? I'm like, I don't know, dude. Well, I do know, but I wasn't there. Now here I am, and it's been awesome. Take all that stuff in, it's like getting a reset, on how we live,
Totally.
you know?
Yeah, and just looking through at stuff and listening to it, through a different lens and some different headphones, and it's cool.
Yeah, it's like being able to see the colors, too.
Yeah.
But so then that went well with you guys, and now I think on the horizon you guys got a couple got announced for a couple of the Danny Wimmer festivals.
Yeah, super stoked, man. Pumped to play Louder Than Life. We had to cancel that last year, so we're really stoked that Danny gave us another chance to be on it. And then Aftershock in Sacramento, which is fucking awesome. We played it a few times, but I'm super stoked for Queens of the Stone Age and Rancid and Guns N' Roses, dude, GNR.
Yeah.
And yeah, so pretty pumped. And then I can't specifically say anything, but I would imagine that there'll be a tour routed around those dates.
I was thinking the same thing, that that should happen. But
Yeah, we got some news coming soon. So
awesome. So we can't spill it yet here exclusively, huh?
yeah, but I don't know if that's a good enough hint.
Yeah, I think it's a
But
pretty good hint. But you guys have played some Danny Wimmer festivals before. It's like, what's your experience been playing those in the past, and how excited are you guys for the ones you're going to get to play this year?
we love them. It's an honor to work with Danny Wimmer and his whole team, and he's a big believer in our band. Which, as I mentioned before, there's been a lot of people in the industry who were not and who still aren't. But Danny Wimmer, he's always supported us. He partnered with us to do a live stream over the pandemic, and he's really always given us a shot to play his festivals, even though a lot of times we're kind of the odd band out. It's a lot more kind of the radio rock scene, and but he still gives us the opportunity to play, and takes care of us, and it's become a really good, solid relationship, and a respectful one for sure.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of his, and I finally got to meet him last year at Incarceration and tell him personally. But it's like I was going to Rock on the Range because that's here in Columbus, Ohio, and then now he's a part of my buddy Dan Jansen's Incarceration festival as
Yeah,
well.
dude. I know I want to play that one. That's the one I hit up our manager. Is like, dude, we got to play this sometime. So maybe next year we'll get on it.
Yeah, man, it'd be great because then I'm definitely at those, and but ever since like Rock on the Range, I mean, it was like early on in my sobriety, I was able to go do, they put out, they're so professional. The media, especially, in the media tent where I got, my foot in with them, they treat the media very well. And, as I, I was experiencing these early on in my sobriety, but I still was dealing with, my social anxiety very bad, and stuff going to, so it was like, it'd be tough even in the media tent, trying to have a conversation. That's why I'm blessed. I've had all this time now doing the podcast and facing my fears and getting comfortable, as a sober person. But what I also loved about his festivals, going out and enjoying the bands, but, every year I think Rock on the Range was playing. It was like Armed Forces Day weekend. And he's just very supportive of the military and being a veteran. That meant a lot to me to see. I got to see Nita Strauss play the Star Spangled Banner and stuff at Rock on the Range. It was amazing. And then he had had the Marines, a full color guard out there behind her. And it was just like awesome what he does for veterans. Like I got Danny Hayes introduced me to one of their newest members of the family, he was a Master Chief in the Navy, Master Chief Otis. He introduced me. He's like, you should have him on your podcast, and it was awesome. I connected on so many levels with the Master Chief with my Navy background, but now he's a part of that. And just to hear, and see it visually, like how much they support the military. And I think the first festival back, I believe, after the pandemic was Incarceration, and they had pushed it back to September, which was, because of some of the restrictions, the COVID stuff in the state of Ohio. And finally it was just like, okay, as long as you're, tested and all that stuff, you can come. But it happened to be on the 20th anniversary of 9/11 weekend. And of course he did something, he had somebody come out and sing the national anthem, and they had a moment of silence. And after being locked up it was so beautifully done. And after being locked up for so long, everybody was like wild, and having a good time and really letting loose. But then when they had that moment of silence, dude, you could hear a pin drop. People took their hats off, put their hands on their heart. It was just such a beautiful thing that he did. So I got nothing but love for Danny Wimmer and his team, man. And
that's awesome. What a beautiful experience, man.
Yeah, for sure. And cool. I've been wanting to check out Louder Than Life, and just, because it's not that far for me to drive down there, but it's always been like a logistics thing with getting a place, because everything sells out so quick and everything's so expensive down there, I guess, during the time of the festival. But I'm now that I got a new car, it's a little bit roomier,
Hey.
I might have to make it this year, because you and a couple of our mutual friends are going to be playing that.
Yeah,
so
dude. Yeah,
nice to have a little group session together in person.
Yeah, and I'm sure between me or someone else, I'm sure we could get you in and hook you up.
Yeah, and hopefully just the people at Danny Wimmer Presents would be cool with it too. So we have a lot of options. Looking but I'm definitely putting it on the calendar of making it happen this year. Come down and see you guys. So like I wanted to ask too, then, you already kind of sounds like there may or may not be some shows in between the festivals, but and you're getting ready in the next 2 weeks, you said, start recording the new album.
Starting
writing.
Right. So
okay.
We're still a little ways out, but
okay. So you're not expecting that for, another probably sometime next year.
I mean, yeah, it wouldn't come out until the beginning of next year, but
all right.
I mean, shit starts to happen quick once we start. So I go and we start recording, over summer. So it's
nice.
Right around the corner.
Yeah. And then what other goals do you have, for yourself now going forward?
I don't know, man. I don't really try to shoot too high, honestly. Just to stay healthy and happy
and work the streets.
Yeah, work the streets, dude. Just straight up work the streets, man. I did work the streets for a minute there, so. But yeah, no really goals. Just to keep on trying and grinding away and writing music and just do the best I can and be the best person I can in the process. So.
Yeah, man. It's like just try and be a little bit better than the guy I was yesterday,
Yeah, yeah. Usually, I'm not perfect, but usually it's a good start. How I was yesterday. So,
Yeah,
but like I
yeah.
said, I'm not perfect, man. Sometimes those character defects come out, and I'm still very capable of being an asshole. So,
You and me both, man. You and me both. Like I was sharing with you the other night. I still, it's like that
yep.
self-will, comes up and I still know better, But but all I could say, man, is like, from the moment we first locked you know, kind of virtually met to today, it's just been awesome watching your growth and your commitment and, you know, becoming your friend and, you know, uh, it's been a cool journey. And that, like you said, by you doing you and doing what you're doing, we help each other out because,
Hell
you
yeah.
know, you guys inspire the hell out of me. I might, technically have more time, but it's I still get so much inspiration from so many of the new people, because it reminds me, it's like, okay, I'm getting complacent and I need to pick that fire back up that this guy has, and
Yeah,
to keep
definitely,
this thing,
definitely.
and that gratitude every day, for sure. Um, but I wanted, before we get ready to wrap up, I wanted to ask you some of the questions that I normally ask guests that I have on.
Yeah, dude.
Um, Now you mentioned some of your early influences in music, but who would you say today are your top three bands?
Okay, I love the Strokes. Love the Strokes, right? Like right now, I'm going through a huge phase with them. Always, still, I love that band Dredge. They don't really do anything anymore, but they've always been a huge influence for me. And I just still, it's funny because my musical taste and the things I listen to, it's been the same shit for the last 20 years. I need to check out new music, but, um, and then, I'm trying. Obviously, I mentioned the Deftones. I was just trying to think of something more unique.
Yeah, I'm looking
I
forward to
li-
seeing them because they're playing the Sonic Temple here in Columbus, and I don't think I've ever had the opportunity to see them live yet. So I'm looking
oh
forward to
yeah,
seeing
dude.
them for sure.
I've seen them live a good handful of times, and they're fucking great.
And
But
then you mentioned a little bit about your journey in high school and how you were off, with the band and stuff. But what class do you feel should be mandatory before graduating today?
shit, you know, none. No, I'm just kidding. I wish something that really piques my interest now, and it didn't when I was younger, and I really wish I would have paid more attention is history.
Yeah,
And I'm really into history stuff of a lot of different eras, but I I think history is pretty important, especially U.S. history and where we come from, and it's a rich history. There's lots of ugly shit that has happened in this country over the years, but also lots of beautiful things, and you know, so I'd have to say, yeah, history.
yeah, great. And like, yeah, there's so much we can learn from, like what not to go back to and what to
Yeah.
continue to do to get better. When we know our history. So I agree with that. It's definitely important. And then who are three people who've inspired you or you can credit for making you the person you are today?
Well, when it comes to music, always love to mention my seventh grade and eighth grade band teacher, Mr. Roberts, Jay Roberts. He was a professional drummer on top of being the band instructor, and he really inspired me to play. And I, uh, I got to give the credit to my parents. It's just been awesome having the support and relationship that I have with them and we're super close still to this day, and they've never given up on me, and I'm just really lucky to have them in my life, and the rest of my family for that matter. Both my sisters, super supportive and loving, and I'm just truly blessed with an amazing family. And of course, my wife, I can't leave my wife out of the equation. She's my my biggest cheerleader, in everything that I do. And I'm just really lucky to have her.
It's awesome, man. And then, are there any causes or organizations that you support and encourage others to check out?
Yeah, I am a huge donor for the DW Music Foundation. DW Drums. They have a foundation that helps, like underprivileged kids play music and get into music. And I've supported them for the last few years, and it's a really good cause. And yeah, that's the main one that I usually
Right.
push.
And then, I think we talked a little bit about it at the beginning, but favorite toy as a child?
Legos, dude. I've always been a huge Lego head, block head, brick head, whatever you want to call it. I, to this day, still build Legos. I have
Nice.
a whole collection. It's sometimes I feel like I'm like, man, I'm this 34-year-old man just playing with my Legos. What has my life become? But I love that shit.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. Well, I mean, inspires creativity and focus, and
Yeah.
there's some therapeutic sides to playing with Legos. And then, any message that you have for our military members currently serving overseas?
I just always like to thank them for their service, If I didn't find my way into music, I feel like I probably would have found my way into the military. It's we're just blessed and honored to have people like them willing to go out and sacrifice their time and unfortunately sometimes their lives to protect our country and our freedoms. And it's just amazing to have those people. So thank you.
Awesome, Matt, dude. I'm glad we were able to finally make this happen and get together on here. Now, for any of my audience members that may not be familiar with Dance Gavin Dance and getting to know you and the band for the first time and want to know more and check it out and see what tour schedule might be popping up and stuff like that, where would you send them?
I'm an Instagram guy, so over to the Dance Gavin Dance Instagram. We do utilize all the other stuff, but I know like our Reddit page is pretty big and always a lot of information on there, but keep an eye on Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram seems to be the one. That's the one I've been following. Like I said, I saw those pictures and sent you that text because you guys got a good tour photographer that goes with you guys out there too.
Yeah, Matt Cole. We linked up with him a few years ago, and he does a great work for us. We love having him on the road with us.
Nice. Well, Matt, once again, man. Thank you so much for the time, and you're a brother, man. I love you, and I'm glad we got to talk today, and I'm glad that I get to talk to you, every day, any day I need to. It's been awesome.
Yeah, man.
Walk this journey with you, and like I said, man, you continue to inspire me.
Dude, definitely, man. And I know it's one day at a time, but here's to many more days as friends. So,
amen. And then one last favor before I let you go. You mind cutting a promo ID for the show? Just introduce yourself, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
Yeah, of course. Just tell me when.
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Hey, what's up, guys? Matt Mingus here from Dance Gavin Dance, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
Awesome. Matt, thank you so much, brother. I'm glad we were able to make this happen today.
Dude, Of course, man. I'm super glad that we made it happen too, finally. And good luck with your next one with Pinfield a little later today.
Thanks, brother. Thank you. I'll talk to you later.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you real soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Later.